Coming up on today's show, Cadillac finally unveils the LYRIQ EV and tells us very little about it in the process. Nikola Motors publishes some very strange financials indeed, and Johnny Cash's old Rolls-Royce gets a full Tesla-transplant. And I do really mean full. These stories and more coming next. Welcome back to another episode of Transport Evolved News. Before we get it going today, I just want to reiterate our apologies for not reporting the second of Elon Musk's tweets last week relating to US government bailouts. I've already apologised earlier this week in another video, but I wanted to reiterate here as I know not everyone watches every video we make. Thanks to the Electric Auto Association for their sponsorship of today's show. Find out how to join them and how to accelerate the transition to electric by going to electricauto.org. It's been teased for months, and at the tail end of the week, we finally got to see the all-new Cadillac LYRIQ EV for the first time, thanks to an online reveal event. This all-new electric crossover makes use of GM's Ultium battery pack, offers 300 miles of range, 150 kilowatts DC quick charging, and up to 19 kilowatts of AC charging power on board. Inside, there's the usual Cadillac luxury, as well as a massive 33-inch curved display, dual-zone head-up display, and the latest iteration of Super Cruise. But while Cadillac's team talked lots about the car's design, no official specs were given, and the whole event seemed a bit of a letdown because of it. US customers will get to see the LYRIQ hit the roads sometime in 2022, with Chinese market buyers most likely getting it a year ahead of that. Jaguar may be struggling to sell its iPace electric crossover to customers in the US, but that doesn't mean the brand is feeling down about its first electric car. Indeed, Jaguar is already eagerly continuing iPace development and refinement, thanks in part to lessons learned in the iPace eTrophy race series. Describing the series as an amazing testbed, Steve Bolter, Vehicle Integration Manager for iPace, told Green Car Reports that software updates like changed charging rates, better torque delivery, better regenerative braking, and smarter active radiator vane activation are a direct result of the iPace's time on the track. Jaguar says it will implement even more of the lessons learned in its iPace 2.0, which is due to make a cover as a 2021 model year car. A German upper court has affirmed the decision of a lower court in banning a Tesla Model 3 owner for driving for 1 month after he crashed into a road sign and several trees. The driver, who has not been named, says that he was trying to adjust his windscreen wipers on his Model 3 at the time of the accident, which meant that he had to turn his attention to the car's centre touchscreen rather than the road ahead. As many of you have noted, it is possible to change the wiper settings from automatic to manual and change the speed of the wipe without really using the centre touchscreen menu system all that much. But it's still a lot more distracting than the conventional stalk-mounted wiper control that's become de facto on most cars today. While Tesla's design certainly didn't help here, it's ultimately the driver, not the car, which is at fault. When the Audi e-tron launched in the US, its starting price was an eye-watering $74,800. But for the 2021 model year, Audi has just confirmed that will drop by nearly $9,000 to $65,900. In addition, thanks to some tweaks to Audi's battery management system, Audi is now claiming a range of 222 miles per charge, 18 miles more than the previous model years. While that's not quite good enough to catch Model Y, in either range or price matters, Audi's price drop does put the e-tron as a much more palatable cross-shop against the Q7 or the Q8. It's still not a conquest vehicle, but if it gets Audi customers plugging in, well, that's okay by me. Thanks to a reverse merger earlier this year, Nikola Motors is now a publicly traded company, and that means it's just published its first ever quarterly earnings report. Like most startups, its balance sheet shows anything but profits within the company, and the company burned through $86,642,000, equating to a loss of 33 cents per share this quarter. Its only revenue? $36,000 for installing solar panels purchased by the company founder and executive chairman, Trevor Milton. It's not clear if that $32.5 million ranch Milton purchased last year after Nikola got a $3 billion valuation was where the panels were installed. But what is detailed in the quarterly earnings is the $70,000 reimbursement for Milton's use of a private plane for company business. Milton also happens to be the owner of Zero Expedition LLC, a company which owns, among other things, a $13 million jet that's leased to Nikola Motors when it's required. Frankly, I have nothing to say. If you want lots of fast charging capability in an electric car, as well as a reliable rapid charging network, you will choose a Tesla. After all, Tesla has the Supercharger network and some of the fastest charging speeds of any car on sale today. In most of Europe, Tesla superchargers are capable of providing up to 150 kilowatts of power in peak conditions to charge customers' cars. But this week, Inside EVs reported that European Tesla owners say that Tesla appears to have restricted superchargers to a maximum of 120 kilowatts. While customers can charge faster using other charging stations, such as the CCS stations operated by Ionity, Tesla's superchargers are nearly always restricting levels to 120 kilowatts, which leaves owners frustrated. Tesla hasn't provided an official explanation, but one theory is that charging speed is being limited due to the heat waves currently being experienced in much of the European continent. Well, Henrik Fisker stated a few weeks ago that he was working with Volkswagen on negotiating a license to use the Volkswagen MEB platform as the basis for the upcoming Fisker Ocean and other future Fisker models. It appears that negotiations are actually off for the summer. That's because we're now in August, the time when many European companies simply shut up shop or at least put things on hold until the start of the autumn. One company doing that apparently is Volkswagen, who has even sent its CEO and his daughter off on a summer road trip in a pre-production ID.3. With fewer executives in the office, it means that Henrik Fisker will likely have to wait until September, or maybe even October, before negotiations can continue. It's not clear if this will change the production schedule for the Ocean or not. This year has been crazy, with plenty of large sporting events suffering as COVID sweeps the world. Formula E has been influenced by this, like many race series, but right now at the Tempelhof airfield in Berlin, Germany, Formula E is holding a 6-race bonanza to make up for all the cancelled races earlier this year and to decide this year's champion. So far, 2 of the races have taken place, with Antonio Felix da Costa taking both checkered flags for DS Cheetah. But with round 8 and 9 taking place this weekend, and the 2 final races taking place on Wednesday and Thursday next week, there is most definitely still time to catch the action. Talking of racing, the Ford Mustang Mach E 1400 one-off performance car that we told you about a few weeks ago, you know, the one that has 7 motors and more than a megawatt of power at the wheels, will be making its NASCAR debut this week. But rather than take to the track on the big day, it turns out that the debut will be a virtual one, with a special feature ad due to air this weekend on NBC during the channel's usual NASCAR coverage. To film the feature video, Vaughn Gittin Jr. and Joey Logano took to the Mach E 1400 and went out on the Romeo Proving Grounds in Michigan, where Ford does a lot of its proving work and development on new cars. We've not seen the resulting video yet, but I'm guessing if previous videos are anything to go by, it's going to be a really good one. And now it's time for Short Shorts. The Boring Company has been given the green light to extend the Las Vegas tunnels it's been building between the various exhibition halls of the Las Vegas Convention Center to other parts of the city. Ultimately, this could become a city-wide mass transit solution. Daimler's electric truck fleets, both in Europe and the US, are readying themselves for the next phase of testing. In the US, Freightliner has covered more than 300,000 trouble-free miles. Meanwhile, in Europe, the e-Actros is readying its second phase of customer testing ahead of a much wider market launch. Mercedes-Benz and Chinese battery firm CATL have officially signed an agreement that will see the latter supply the former with batteries for use in its upcoming EQS electric sedan. When that vehicle launches, Mercedes-Benz says it will have a range in excess of 700 kilometers per charge. After Boring Company tunneling machines were spotted in the desert between Las Vegas and Los Angeles, rumours have been flying around that seem to suggest Elon Musk's tunnel-making company could be about to link the two cities together. But I should remind you, it is just a rumour. A Russian company called Aviar has pulled the covers off the Aviar R67, a modern carbon fibre-bodied Ford Mustang based off the first-generation fastback. But the really fun bit is a fully Tesla-powered drivetrain and interior. It has a claimed sprint time of 2.2 seconds. Fiat Chrysler has been pretty slow to adopt electric vehicles, but this week its CEO Mike Manley said that the brand would consider making an electric pickup if its owners and its fans requested one. Given Ford, GM and many other companies are making plug-in trucks, including Tesla, Rivian and others, I do think it's time. Tesla has quietly cancelled plans to launch its range of energy storage products in Korea. The reason isn't 100% clear, but according to local reporting, it's something to do with regulatory approval and lots of red tape. In just over a month's time, we get to see Charlie Borman and Ewan McGregor ride the long way up on modified, all-electric Harley-Davidson Livewires. As their support vehicle, well, that was the Rivian R1T. And this week, Rivian shared footage from their trip. It's well worth a look. Tesla Model 3 and Tesla Model Y have electronic front doors. They also have manual emergency release catches. But so many customers have been using those manual releases that Tesla now appears to have added a logo onto the electronic door releases to encourage people to use it. Apparently, using the emergency one can actually cause damage to the car. Lordstown Motors, which added GM to its list of investors this week, is preparing itself to go public through a very similar kind of deal to the merger that put Nikola on the stock market. The company it's merging with is Diamond Peak Holdings Corporation. Tesla has confirmed that in China it will offer customers the chance to have their cars wrapped as part of their purchase deal. Frankly, it is a smart move, as it helps Tesla deal with some of the paint issues that its cars are now notorious for, as well as helping customers individualise their rides. Sadly, I don't have a price to share with you. Sorry. Data released by the UK Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders shows that yet again, July was a great month for plug-in car sales in the UK, pulling plug-in sales to 9% of all new cars sold so far this year. Both plug-in hybrids and battery electric vehicles have absolutely surged in popularity. Professor Goodenough, Nobel laureate and one of the fathers of the lithium-ion battery, has announced that he's working with SK Innovation to commercialise a new gel polymer electrolyte for lithium-ion batteries. It will apparently overcome several limitations of current lithium-ion cell storage. Chargepoint has announced it's received $127 million in additional funding to help it expand solutions for the commercial and fleet markets. At the moment, there is frankly a massive demand for charging stations for electric trucks. Honda has apparently filed a trademark for the name emotocompacto, a name which isn't quite that of its iconic motocompo, but it does seem to be filed in relation to an electric scooter. This suggests there may be an electric variant on the way, maybe for the Honda E. Don't worry, I'll keep you posted. Kia has announced that it's working very hard to increase the availability of its e-Niro electric crossover in the UK after what it says is unprecedented demand. Like its sibling Hyundai, Kia has struggled in the past to meet demand in Europe, and it's hopefully going to be turning the corner with this one. In addition to its Motocompacto trademark, Honda has also re-trademarked the name CRZ this week, suggesting that either a new version of the CRZ is coming, or it wants to make sure nobody steals the name. Those inside the company suggest that there might be an all-electric sports car with the CRZ badge on the way. A new study by the AAA in the US suggests that some driver assistance systems do the exact opposite of what they're intended to do, hampering drivers' abilities rather than enhancing them. It tested systems from many companies and found them wanting, but I should note it didn't test either autopilot or ProPilot in the system. And those are your shorts. There will be more next week. A new report from the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory in the US, or PNNL for short, suggests that electric grid planning in the US Western Power Grid area is not prepared for the advent of electric cars. The study goes into quite a lot of depth, talking about duck curves and potential brownouts, particularly from high-powered quick charging stations in parts of the US like Los Angeles. But as we've covered on this channel before, time of use charging, smart charging, and even using grid-tied batteries alongside rapid charging stations can all help smooth out demand and alleviate any issues caused by everyone plugging in at the same time. And since I've covered plenty about this on the channel, I'm not super worried about this report. It's pretty simple. If you use a charge timer at night, you're helping, not hindering, the grid. And depending on where you are in the world, there are now some great products on the market that help you take advantage of smart charging, using periods where the grid is making just too much power to fill your ride up. And finally, a 1970 Rolls-Royce long wheelbase that was once owned by the music icon that was the late Johnny Cash broke cover this week as a fully electric resto mod. The car, purchased at auction several years ago by an anonymous bidder, was taken to Shift EV in Albany, Oregon, where, at the new owner's request, an entire brand new Tesla Model S was stripped down before every last bit of its drivetrain, battery pack, power electronics et al. Was fitted into the Rolls. The result is a classic Rolls-Royce with Tesla power, Tesla ABS and Tesla charging, except it looks almost 100% stock. We were one of the 2 film crews that were given time to film with the car this week, so be sure to check out our in-depth interview with the team behind this phenomenal car when we're done here. Which, as it happens, is in about 90 seconds. Thanks to the Electric Auto Association for sponsoring today's episode. They've been advocating for electric vehicles since 1967, and they firmly believe that our future depends on us making the switch to clean, green electric cars today. You can find out how to join, how to become a local EV educator, where to attend monthly meetups, or just find EV owners to talk about making the switch to electric too by going to electricauto.org. I would love it if you'd like, comment and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and if you do feel able, please consider supporting us using one of the links below. If you can't do that though, just know that watching and interacting with our content, both here and on other social media platforms, really does help the YouTube algorithms. So if you do, thank you. I'll be back next week with more great content for you all to enjoy, but in the meantime, stay healthy, work to make the world a fairer, safer place for us all to live in, strive for equality, be kind to one another, wash your hands, and please, wear that mask. I don't care what you say, science doesn't lie when it comes to masks. Keep evolving!